have at the very end. Um, so, all right. So I'm Miss Luan Singh. I'm one of your 7 counselors here at Sweetwater High School. In our session today is my intern Brandon. He is a Suhai alum, and so he's helping monitor the chat and take attendance of those of you who are joining us this morning. So, a little bit about me. So, I am a graduate of Sweetwater High School. I went to Granger Junior High. I went to Eltion Elementary. My parents still live here in National City. Um, After my time at Sweetwater, I did go straight to a 4 year university. I went to San Diego State University, where I got my bachelor's degree in communication. And then I went to get my teaching credential in English. So I taught English for a little while. And while I was teaching English, I continued to go to school to get my master's in educational counseling. So I taught English at Southwest Middle School and Castle Park High School for about 7, 8 years. And then I came to Sweetwater in about 2008. And I've been here at Sweetwater the whole time as a counselor. So that's a little bit about me. So in the chat, I want you to fill out this statement for me. So my name is Miss Lawan Singh, and I'm cool because I am a Suhai alumni. So this is going to kind of open the window, open the door, break the water a little bit about some of the things we're going to talk about today. So I want you to say, my name is Clarence, and I'm cool because why are you cool? And whatever that definition of cool is. So there's only a few of us in here, so I'll give you a few moments to. Okay. You're cool because you joined this. Yes, everyone who is in my workshop right now are the coolest seniors at Sweetwater High School because you made a good choice to be in the cool workshop. Allison is cool because she has a cat. I'm not so much of a cat fan, but that's cool. Diana, she's cool because she turns in her assignments early. So Diana is an early bird. That's cool. Emily's cool. She has 4 dogs. Oh my gosh. And yes, Brandon is super cool because he attends San Francisco State University. So maybe at some point, if we've got time at the end, maybe Brandon can share his story of how he decided to go to San Francisco State rather than stay in San Diego and go to San Diego State. I think that's a good story he can share with you all. Clarence is cool because his favorite animal is the blobfish. Oh, what's that? I'm going to have to Google that later. All right. Cool. Thank you for participating, everybody. So if you're your authentic self, you have no competition. So I know that the college admissions process creates some anxieties and some worries and some doubts on whether you're good enough, whether you're good enough to get admitted, whether you're good enough to go to this university, that university, or wherever, right? And so as long as you're being your true self, you're trying your best, you're putting your best foot forward in everything that you do every day, it's going to work out. And so we can't really predict which universities or which colleges will accept you, but as long as you put your best foot forward, you present yourself well on the applications that you're going to complete, there should be no problem. And so that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So our topics for today, quite a few for the next hour, less than an hour or so. So we're together till 11:15. So we're going to talk about finding colleges and universities that fit. Okay, so there are hundreds, thousands of universities across the world, not just in our country. I mean, we have some students who've left Sweetwater High School and went to college in Spain, in the UK, in Asia. So You don't have to limit your choices to just the United States. Um, but it's trying to figure out and how to find the universities that fit who you are and what you want to study and what you're all about. And so we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities. You probably haven't heard of that before, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the common application, the UC application, and the personal statements that many of these admissions applications ask of you. So, those are our topics for today. So, just as a reminder, those of you who were in the senior presentations before break in your Econ and Gov class, we went over these deadlines. So, just to remind yourselves that the CSU applications are already open and the deadline is November 30th. The same is the case for the UC applications. Those are already open, deadline November 30th. But out of state and private colleges and universities have different deadlines. So you'll have to do your own research to make sure you know which universities are due when it comes to out of states and privates. So do I fit? Do you fit? Do you fit these universities that you're thinking about? So one of my favorite websites is Big Future at College Board, bigfuture.collegeboard.org. So even if you just go to Google and you look up Big Future, it's like the first thing that pops up. Okay. Big Future is tied into your College Board account where you may have used to register for the SAT or even registered your PSAT results at some point. So what you can do on this website is you can look up any university. So I looked up UCSD, UC San Diego. And there are a bunch of tabs at the top. So it says about, admissions, academics, cost, campus life. I clicked on the admissions tab. And on the admissions tab, it'll give you an admissions summary. So it gives you kind of a profile of what type of student gets admitted to that school. So for example, you'll see here, 68% of the students that UCSD admits has a 3.75 or higher. So when you're considering a school, you want to say, okay, my GPA is a 3.3. So looking at this chart, I have a 5% chance of getting into the school. So is this easy or hard to get into UCSD if I'm a 3.5? Hard, okay? So UCSD is one of the most popular UCs, so it's very competitive to get in. And so as you're thinking about the schools that you're wanting to apply to, this is a good gauge to figure out whether this school is a good fit for you academically and admissions wise. So I always tell students you can apply to some schools where it's hard for you to get in and then apply to some schools that are might be a little bit easier for you to get in. So you've got a range. Okay. Now, if you're not quite sure, you've got a list of schools that you're wanting to apply to, you're not sure which ones are a good fit or not. That's something that you can have a conversation with your counselor about, and we can kind of play around on the website and help you narrow down your list of colleges to make sure you're applying to good ones that you're a good fit for. Okay, so that's the first website that I would like you to take note of is bigfuture.collegeboard.org. Now, throughout your high school career, we talk a lot about UCs and CSUs, okay? So I wanted to start off a little bit talking about private universities. So this slide right here shows you all of the UC campuses, all of the CSU campuses in California, okay? Remember, UC, you need at least a 3.0. CSU, you need at least a 2.0. Okay, but the average GPAs of students getting into UCs hover around the 4.0 range, and the average of students getting into CSUs are like the 3.5 range. Okay. So let's talk about what we call the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities. There are dozens of these in California. Okay. They're private, nonprofit higher education institutions in California. Some use the Common App that we'll be talking about today. Some of them have their own application that's directly on their own website. And so again, their deadlines vary. Some of these schools, their deadline is not until like January, February time. I would recommend visiting that website, kind of checking out some of those schools, because those are definitely options for you in addition to the UCs and the CSUs. So here's a list of them. There are tons. Let me see if it, okay, so in the San Diego area, so you'll see Northern Cali, San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles. The areas that are closest to us are that Orange, Riverside, San Diego area. That's the closest to us. And then the next closest would be the ones in the LA area. So this column, Orange, Riverside, San Diego are the ones closest to us. So here in San Diego, some of these universities that fall under this group of colleges and universities. So John Paul, the Great Catholic University, that's in northern San Diego. National University, that's where I got my master's degree in counseling. Point Loma Nazarene, that's kind of in the Point Loma area. San Diego Christian College is in East San Diego. University of St. Catherine, San Marcos, so that's northern San Diego. And then USD, University of San Diego. Okay, so those are some of the schools that fall under this group of colleges and universities. So as you're looking at some of those private schools, you'll notice that they might ask you if you want to apply for regular decision, rolling admissions, or early action, early decision. So there's these different times where you can turn in your admissions application. So regular decision is just a regular admissions. You apply with everyone else. You want to be considered with everyone else that's applying to that university. Now, rolling admission, early action, or early decision is more of a commitment. So you don't want to apply to several schools under early action and early decision. When you apply under early action and early decision, you're saying, if I get admitted, I'm going there. So you're making a commitment to that school. That's why their deadlines are usually like early November. So when you mark early decision or early action on some of these private school applications, what you're telling that university is, if I get admitted, I'm coming. You're making that commitment. Okay. If you're not sure whether you're 100% committed to that school, then you want to apply under regular decision. Okay. And again, if you've got questions about that, come see your counselor and we can kind of clarify that for you. So just remember, early action and early decision means you're committing to that school if you get admitted. So we're moving on to Common App. So this is one of the platforms for you to do your college application. So this is the second website or third website I'd like you to write down that you can go into and explore a little bit. So I know this map is very small and there's no way you can read all of these schools, but just to kind of give you an idea of which schools or which areas the Common App universities fall under. Again, there are quite a few here in California, many kind of on the East Coast. But again, if you want to explore this a little bit more, you want to visit commonapp.org. So the Common App has 4 different areas, 4 different tabs, 4 different areas that you can explore on the Common App website. The dashboard, my colleges, the actual Common App, and a college search. So those are the different areas on that website. Looks like this. Okay, so once you create an account, you'll see your homepage on the Common App will look like this. Most students want to start with the college search. Okay, so the dashboard is like your home screen. Any announcements and requirements, upcoming deadlines will be there on your dashboard. My colleges will list all of the colleges that you're interested in, all the apps that you've started and finished. Okay, so the Common App is what you'll actually fill out. And the college search gives you a tool to look for certain colleges based on major, location, size, things like that. Once you're in there, there is like a toolbar on the right side with some tutorial videos and some question and answers to help guide you through the application. So in addition to the usual questions on an application, like your personal information, your information about your grades and test scores, awards, honors, extracurricular activities, there is an essay. There is one core essay on the Common App. Okay, so there's one essay that you fill out. And then individual schools might ask for additional essays, and that's just dependent on the individual schools that you might apply to. So here are the different prompts for those essays. So I'll kind of go through them. So number one, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is meaningful, that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. Number two, lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from that experience? Number three, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking, and what was the outcome? Number four, reflect on something that someone has done for you that made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? Ooh, number four sounds like a Wellness Wednesday question. Number five, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. Number six, describe a topic or idea or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose track of all time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you need to learn more? And number seven, share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written or one that responds to a different prompt of your own or of your own design. Okay, so again, you're going to choose one of those, and it needs to be between 250 and 650 words. Okay. I'll talk about tips about these essays later. But how you want to think about these when you're answering them, you don't want to answer them like an essay you're writing for your AP English class. Okay. How you want to answer them is like if it was an interview. So let's pretend you were sitting in front of an admissions person from that university and they asked you, tell me about a time when you had a challenge, setback, or a failure. Tell me about that. That's how you're going to write it on your essay, because it's it kind of is like an interview. They want to get to know you. They want to kind of get in your head, learn about who you are and how you process things, how you go through things. And so you want to answer it kind of like an interview, like as if they were in front of you asking these questions. So again, commonapp.org, that's the first website where you'll actually go in and do your applications. So that's one of your options there. Now we're going to talk about the UC application. We're not talking about CSU. I don't know why it says that there, but just the UC. So again, here are your UC schools. There's a few of them in California, not too many. And so here are some statistics about the admission rates, average GPA, average SAT, and ACT scores. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, for the UC schools, the average GPA hovers around a 4.0. So when you're thinking about fit, so if you're at that 4.0 range, you're probably in a good place. If you're kind of more in the mid 3.5 area, you want to be careful with which UCs you plan to apply to. Take a look at that GPA and see where you fit, because you want to apply accordingly. So again, deadlines, November 30th is your deadline. When they talk about self-reporting test results, that's if you took the SAT and ACT, they want to make sure that you send your scores. Okay. If you don't take the SAT and ACT, that's okay. But if you do and you want to send your scores, you want to send them by those dates. Okay. So you apply in the fall. You'll receive your notice of admissions between February and March. And then May 1st, which is May 1st for most colleges and universities, and is when you need to tell that university you're planning on going to, you need to make your commitment. So it's called intent to register. So May 1st is when you need to make your final decision on which school you're going to go to, and you need to tell that school by May 1st. So the UC application is based on all of these things. Okay. It's not just about GPA, grades, test scores, and your A through G courses. Okay. That's the first part. Okay. So if your GPA is in a good place, if your test scores look good and you completed your A through Gs, you make the next round. Okay. And in the next round, they look at campus involvement, they look at extracurricular, community service, awards, honors, etc., etc. Okay. My experience as a UC admissions person is that you're not necessarily competing against everyone who's applying to that particular UC school. They look at you in comparison to the other seniors at your particular high school. Okay, that's kind of how they score you. So they want to see how you compare against your own peers. So they're not necessarily evaluating you in comparison to a senior at, let's say, La Jolla High School. Okay, not necessarily. What they're doing is saying, okay, given your circumstance at your high school, the coursework offered at your high school, how do you compare to the other seniors at your school? Is what they look at more than comparing you to all the other seniors who are applying. Okay. So as long as you're doing well here at Sweetwater High School, if you're in the top 10% of our graduating class, you're a good candidate for a UC school. Okay. So that's another fit criteria is if you're around the top 10% of our senior class, then a UC school may be a good fit for you. And so on the second page of your transcript, it'll show what ranking you are. So you're number 72 of 694 seniors. Just do the math to figure out if you're in the 10% or not. So UC application starts like this. So first time users create an account. If you've created an account before and you're locked out or whatever, don't create another one. Follow the steps to recover it. Don't be scared to call the 800 number if you need to and actually talk to a live person because that will help. Okay, so don't force creating a new account. Try and recover your original account because if you have two accounts under your name and address, it creates a problem later because it'll look like you're trying to be two people or someone's trying to be you or something like that. Like that kind of stuff happens. So don't create a new account. Recover the one you're locked out of. So this is what the UC application looks like. You'll see all the categories up at the top. So you'll see campus and major, scholarships, about you, academic history, activities, awards, test scores, and your personal insight. Those are the essay questions. Okay, so if you do not have a social security number, it's okay. You can still apply, no problem. Just put zeros in there. Don't leave it blank. You'll have to put zeros all the way through. So just know that you not having a social security number is not an admissions criteria. So it's not going to, because you don't have one, doesn't mean you're not going to get admitted. It has nothing to do with admissions. They just want to kind of track who's applying and who's not. Okay, so there'll be a page where you choose your major. There are these menus that you bring down. So you'll look at the different categories there. Those are all hyperlinks. So then you'll want to make sure that you go in and kind of read up about the major a little bit if you're not quite sure. You want to choose wisely. Make sure you choose a major that is as close as to what it is that you want to study because changing your major once at the university can be a little complicated. Again, if you've got questions about that, let us know. We can help guide you. If you're planning on applying to UCSD, so University of California, San Diego is the campus. On campus, there are different colleges. Okay. And so if you're applying to UCSD, you want to choose which college that you want to be a part of. And so again, you'll be asked to rank them. There are hyperlinks there for you to choose which college you want to consider. It kind of focuses on the type of culture and classes that you'll be taking during the first 2 years of your program. So if you've got questions about that, your counselor can kind of explain a little bit more. There are scholarships that are part of the application for the UC program as well. So you want to go through all of these categories and click anything that applies to you. Okay. So it'll ask you, for example, if you're of Hispanic descent, click. If you're first generation college student, click. If if anyone in your family has served in the military, click. If you're an immigrant yourself, like you're a first generation immigrant, you were born somewhere else and you came over, click it. Okay. So click all the different categories that apply to you. You can pick up to 16. Okay. And what that'll do is it'll take your information from your FAFSA and it's going to see if you qualify for any of these scholarships because that's additional money that you can earn in order to go to school there. There is a section in the application that asks about academic history comments. Okay, now you don't have to write anything in here, but I think, like, let's say on your transcript, you're typically a student that gets A's and B's, and then that COVID year, your grades looked funky. Okay, you might want to explain. Okay, explain in there what happened. Maybe you got COVID, maybe family members got COVID, maybe you didn't get COVID or nobody in your family got COVID, but parents lost their jobs, whatever. And so there was a lot of stress on you and your family at that time. You want to kind of explain in this box if there's some discrepancies in your academic record. Okay, maybe you're forced to take a class and your counselor didn't let you change the class, and so you got a bad grade in that class. You might want to you can explain that in that box. So you just want to make sure that you explain any funny looking things on your transcript and any history behind that to help the admissions people understand why the grade wasn't as good as it should have been on your record. If you need help wording that, we can help you do that. Okay. So you'll be asked to list awards, activities, and awards. Okay. Choose 5 of your most meaningful experiences. So I know for some of you, you're involved in lots and lots and lots of things, but it only gives you so many boxes to write some of these things. So you want to choose activities where you had some leadership, where you led a group of people, where you initiated a project, or you were directly involved in something. And then in the explanation, don't be afraid to brag about yourself. Okay, that's part of the I am cool because activity from earlier. In this process, you may feel like you're bragging or you're telling a pity story or boohoo me, it's okay because that's your truth. That's really what happened to you. That's really what had happened to you. That's really what you had experienced. So it's very important that you're honest on the application. And so if you're going to list your activities, brag. Okay, say, yeah, I was a volunteer at the Arts Center. I led 6 of my peers in a project over a 3-month period, whatever. Like, explain, build yourself up, hype yourself up, make yourself look good. Because if you're ever going to do something like that, now's the time to do it on your college applications. If you need help with the wording of it and how to word it properly, I call it how to wordsmith your application. Your counselors can help you. Okay. We've become very versed in making you shine on these college applications. So let us know. So at the very end, make sure you click that thing that says view application, because it'll put your whole application on one like PDF. So you can eyeball it, make sure it's correct. Okay. At this point is probably when you want to show it to your counselor or somebody on campus that you trust to review it for you. Um, I would suggest you have someone look over your application before you click submit. Some of you click submit, and then 2 seconds after the fact, you're like, ah, crap, I forgot to put this, or oh, I forgot I this. And then it's hard to undo it once you've submitted. Okay, so make sure you have somebody look it over before you submit. Of course, we're here to help you through the whole process too. But please make sure you have someone look it over before you click submit. Okay, so this costs money. So you'll see this student is applying to 5 campuses and it came out to $350. And you're like, what? $350? That's a lot of money. So you'll see a little option to apply for a fee waiver. So you always want to apply for a fee waiver. You always want to say yes to that question. So it's going to ask you some questions about your family size, family income. Usually, if you qualify or you have qualified in the past for free and reduced lunch, excuse me. If in the past you've qualified for free and reduced lunch, you'll probably qualify for the fee waiver. Okay, the fee waiver will cover 4 UC schools and 4 CSU schools. Okay, so in the UC application, you can do 4 schools under the fee waiver. In the CSU application, you can do 4 schools for the fee waiver. And then the private schools are all different. So Common App, usually it's unlimited because on the Common App, it'll ask for you to input your counselor, and then your counselor gets like this questionnaire. And then when it asks if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, we'll click that thing. And as long as we click that thing, all their applications are free. So there's kind of a cheat to that this year because technically everyone's receiving free lunch this year. So even if you don't normally qualify for free and reduced lunch, I'm going to click that box for you because technically you're receiving free lunch this year. So, yeah, that's kind of the cheat for this year. So apply for the fee waiver. Review before you submit, my friends. Please review before you submit. Counselor can help you review. Write down all these numbers as application ID. It says, please print this receipt. I know print is old school, but save the PDF, put it in your Google Drive, create a folder in your Google Drive that says UC apps, print to PDF everything and put it in there in case things disappear. Okay, that's my tip. So UC personal insight questions. So the UC also has their own set of questions that you answer in an essay type format. Okay. So some tips for me, because I've read thousands of UC applications. I used to be a reader, admissions reader for UCSD. So just some tips from me. Remember, personal statements are just that personal. They want you to get personal. Okay, not too personal, but personal enough where they get to meet you. So like I said, pretend it's like an interview. Okay, so if you're in front of somebody and they tell me, okay, tell me about the most challenging class you've ever had. Okay, you're not going to answer like your AP English essay. You're going to answer like you're having a conversation. Do that. Okay. The important thing is that you're expressing who you are and what matters to you. Okay. And you want to share that with the school that you're applying to. Okay. They want to know who you are and what matters to you. Okay. No fluff. Get right to the point because you only have 350 words for these personal insight questions. That's very short. It's like it's a long paragraph. It's not many words for you to answer the question. So just get to the point, answer it. Okay. Use language that's natural to you. Don't thesaurus or don't synonym your words. Okay. Use your natural words that come to mind, that come out your fingers as you type, as you're answering the question. Okay. Check and recheck and have others read it for content and grammar. So you're not going to get dinged if you forgot a comma or if you didn't put a space after the period. So that's not the end all. But if you have so many errors in your writing that it's hard for the admissions person to understand what it is you're trying to say, then it becomes a problem. So please make sure you have somebody read over your personal statements before you submit. And it's never too early to get started. Okay, at this point, after today, if you haven't started yet, you need to start. Okay, so tips from the UC: start early, use I statements, write persuasively, proofread and edit, get feedback, copy and paste. So that means write it out on like Google Doc. Okay, write your essay out on a Google Doc, copy it, and then paste it into the application. Okay. Now keep that Google Doc because all your responses to all these personal statements you can reuse on a scholarship later. You can reuse on your Common App, reuse to your UC app. You can kind of just edit things a little bit for those essays to you can use those essays for other things. So keep them all somewhere. Okay. And relax. Okay. Don't stress out too much about this. Like I said, it's more of a it's personal. You're writing like you're answering the question in front of someone. So don't think about it too much. Don't stress out about it too much. Don't plagiarize. Okay. Never, ever, especially in college life, do you plagiarize because you're done. Okay. They kick you out, they fire you from college. Don't do that. Um, don't use creative writing. So don't use cliches, poems, quotes, or jokes. Like if you were answering the question in front of somebody, you wouldn't say, well, William Shakespeare once said. You wouldn't do that. They'd look at you like, okay. So don't do that in your personal statement. Okay. Don't use quotations. Okay. It's you talking. So don't quote people. Just talk. Don't write about other people. Okay, I've read so many essays about someone's abuela, their grandma, their mom, their dad, their older sister. Like they're not applying to the UC, you are. So don't tell dad's story of immigrating from wherever or grandma's story about cancer. Okay, you can mention it and then tell your story about it. Okay, so grandma's not trying to get into the UC, you are. So write about you, not grandma. Um, don't repeat info. So on the UC application, I think it's statements that you write on you choose three of the topics to write about. Don't write about the same thing. So if one topic you're going to talk about math and how much you love math and math is your passion, don't talk about math at all in the next two. Okay. You're going to talk about your love for K-pop and how inspired you are by K culture. Okay, cool. Don't talk about that again. Okay, so in your three statements, talk about three very distinct things and don't repeat them. Don't pose philosophical questions because if you did that in an interview, they would look at you like, what? Are you okay? Okay. Don't use acronyms. Spell it out. Just say it. No need to be all creative with acronyms. And don't use generalities. Be very specific. Be straight to the point. So what I've told students is if I close my eyes and someone reads your statement to me, do I see the story you're telling me? Do I see what it is you're trying to say? I want to be able to build a picture in my mind about what it is that you're writing about. And if that's not happening, then you need to edit your personal statement. So again, take a moment to appreciate how awesome you are because at this point right now, you're probably thinking, crap, I don't know what I'm going to write about on these essays because there's nothing special about me. I can't think of anything extraordinary, outstanding. It doesn't have to be. Talk about your life. Talk about something you've been involved in. Talk about the flying water bottles at lunch and how that bugs you or whatever. I don't know. But if you're stuck and you can't figure out what to write about, we can help you because it is hard to kind of figure out what it is that you want to talk about. So you see personal insight questions. There are 8 questions. You choose 4. Okay, not 3, 4. Sorry. So there are 8 different prompts. You choose 4, 350 words. That's not a lot. 350 words is like a third of a page you typing on Google Drive, Google Docs. You can choose whichever ones you want to choose. There's no any particular, all the questions are equal. So it's not like you get more points if you answer that one or that one. You want to answer the ones that you can write about. Choose the ones that you have a story to tell. Okay, don't choose the ones that you think the UC wants you to answer. There is none. They want you to answer all of them. So you choose whichever one you feel like you can write about. So the first one, so these slides, I'm going to share the slides at the end so you can have this. I'm not going to do the whole activity with you, but I pose the prompt to you, and then I give you some activities that you can do to kind of start brainstorming on how to answer these questions. Okay. So the first prompt is describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. Okay. So leadership experience where you helped resolve some kind of conflict. Okay. So how do you define a leader? Write 3 words, and how do those words apply to you? Might be a way. So it could be like at home. Maybe you have siblings and you guys fight all the time. How do you resolve that? How do you get over that? How do you deal with that? Maybe your parents fight and sometimes you get in and kind of help calm the waters. Maybe there was a conflict here at school with your peers. Maybe there was a group project and you and your partner weren't getting along or whatever. How did that play out? Those are different ways to answer that one. Number 2, every person has a creative side. It can be expressed in many ways: problem solving, original, innovative thinking, artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. Okay. Do you dance? Do you sing? I don't know. Okay. So that's another one. Number 3, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? Some people talk simple things like I'm organized. Okay. Somebody earlier said, oh, I turn in my assignments early. So maybe one of your greatest talents or skills is to be early. And how has you being early benefited you in your life? Maybe you play the piano. Maybe you're gifted at basketball. Maybe you're a soccer star. It can be lots of things. So it doesn't have to be this great talent. It can be being organized or being on time or not being afraid to speak in front of others. It can be lots of different things. Number 4, describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you faced. This is a great question for those of us who are English language learners. Okay. If you grow up speaking another language and then you learned English when you came to school here in the United States, this is a perfect question for that. Okay. I think we take for granted that many students here at Sweetwater High School are bilingual. Okay. You grew up with one language and then you learned English. That's a typical story of a student at Sweetwater High School. But across the nation and out of everyone applying to the UC, that's not typical. That's different. Okay. And so I think it's important that if you are a student who is bilingual and you had another language that you learned first and you learned English, this is a great opportunity for you to tell that story on what it felt like to start school in the United States learning English. Okay. This is a perfect prompt for that. Number 5, describe the most significant challenge you faced and steps you have overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Okay. Another typical story for us here at Sweetwater, we have lots of students, and it might be one of you, who commute from Mexico over every week or maybe even every day to come to school. Okay. Many of our students do that. It's a typical story for our community and for our students. It's no big deal for us. But out of all the students applying to the UC, that is a unique story. And many people don't know that many students commute from Mexico back every day to come to school. And so this is another perfect opportunity for you to share that story if that applies to you. Okay. So significant challenge you faced and how you overcame it. Number 6, think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest in or outside of school. So this is a perfect prompt for you to tie in what you've learned in high school to what you want to study in college. So if you want to be a computer science person, you want to talk about maybe being involved in the robotics club here at Sweetwater and being part of the AP Computer Science program. Okay. You love math, talk about being involved in math and how you want to continue that in college. So make the connection. Okay, this is a perfect prompt to make a connection from what you've learned in school and how you want to build upon that when you get to college. Number 7, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? I don't know. Do you do the kindness challenge on Wellness Wednesday every week? Because that would be a perfect answer to this question. But something like that. Okay. And number 8, beyond what is already been stated in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the UC of California? Okay, so at this point in your application, you would have listed all of your classes, all of your grades, all of your test scores, all of your activities, all of your community service, and you would have answered 3 personal statements already. Now, if there's anything else about you that is not yet in your application that you want to tell the UC people, you choose number 8. Okay. If anything, like I've had students share the story of them being sick, and how they overcame being sick because you wouldn't really put that there. Maybe financial issues with your family, maybe a divorce in your family, maybe being in a single family home, maybe living with your grandparents instead of your actual parents, because that would not be in your application anywhere. But if those life experiences have made you stronger, have made you a better student, had made you work harder to get to where you are, I believe that's worth sharing as your answer to number 8. If you're not sure, you're like, well, I'm not sure if I should write about this or not. Hey, Luansing, what do you think? Should I make this my number 8 or not? And I can kind of guide you, or your counselor can guide you whether or not that would be a good fit for you or not. Okay. So normally I would have you do a quick write on one of those 8 prompts, just write for 5 minutes, but that might be something you want to do on your own. Okay. You're like, okay, here are the 8 prompts. I like number 1, 2, 5, and 8. Okay. Number 1, read the question, set your timer for 5 minutes on your phone, and just write by hand or type, whatever. Answer the question and see what you come up with. Because with what you come up with, you can build on your quick write. You can add more stuff, make it the 350 words. Because sometimes you guys get caught up with like, oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to write about. Where if you just do a quick write whatever comes up off the top of your head, what comes out in that quick write is a perfect place to start. So that's a great way to start some of these topics, is just to do a quick write. Okay. Wow. Questions. Am I done? Okay, yeah. Yeah. All right. We've got a few minutes. Questions, preguntas, mga tanong for me. You can turn off your mic or put in the chat.